damage to Bobby?
Well, why don't you talk about the Cheyenne story?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Almost forgot that. That's beautiful. I was over at Universal Studios on an interview one time, and got done with my interview, and I knew Bobby was working on the back lot. That's where they do all the Westerns back there. So I thought, well, it's early. I'll go back and see how they're doing. So I went back there. Now they got a scene. It's a big scene. The Indians had gone through this town, and they had burned some of the buildings and raised hell. I don't know if they'd raped the women. They had killed a few of the guys. What the Indians do. Oh, excuse me, fellas. I forgot where. I mean, these were bad Indians. These guys are good down here. And I might not get out of this joint. They'd gone through and they'd wrecked the town, so the townspeople had called the cavalry.
Perhaps they were Martians.
Huh?
Perhaps they were Martians.
The cavalry is going to show up, and here's the way they set the scene up. Nice little town. You see the buildings burned. They're driving cattle through. They run the sheep through. They got ore wagons. They got stagecoaches. They got women and men crossing the street. They got cows. Dogs, cats, chickens, everything. Nice town scene. And it's about 10 minutes long. That's a long scene, one shot. Now they got Bobby horseback. He's down behind a barn. And they've got a red light down there. When the cue light goes off, he's going to ride out. Here comes the cavalry. And they come together, and the lieutenant's going to say, "Who did this?" And Bobby's going to say, "The Cheyenne." That's all he's going to say. So he's down there behind the barn. Charlie Horvath went with him. And Charlie was a practical joker, a good guy, a good stuntman, but a practical joker. And they're down there behind the barn, and it starts out. Here comes the cattle. They start the scene out, and Bobby's down there. The longer you sit on this old horse, he'd get a little more nervous, and Bobby's kind of fighting him a little bit. And he's rehearsing his line. Cheyenne, 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 Cheyenne. Coming down the cab, they run the stagecoach and the chickens and everything. Cheyenne. He didn't like dialogue a lot. Cheyenne, Cheyenne, the horse getting jumpy. And pretty soon the red light goes off. The cavalry's there. The red light goes off, and Bobby turns his horse and starts out. And he says, "Charlie, what's my line?" Charlie says, "Chinese." So Bobby rides out, and here comes the cavalry down there, and the lieutenant pulls up. Bobby pulls up. The lieutenant says, "Who did this?" And Bobby said, "Chinese." The director yells, "Cut." "What'd you say, Bobby?" Bobby said, "Cheyenne." "I don't think so." He says, "We're going to do it again. When you come out this time, when he says, 'Who did this?' just say Indians." Awful. Is that it? No.
All right, I'm gonna ask you for one more story about you and Bobby, and I think a lot of these people have heard it, but I cannot let you leave the stage without talking about Big Bear.
Oh, yes. Oh, Lord. We were in Big Bear, California. It's up in the mountains, the nice lake up there, and we're up there doing a show in the middle of summer. A lot of tourists up there, and there weren't a lot of available rooms, so Kent was up there trying to get enough rooms for the whole company, 115 people. So he had to double a lot of us up, which is okay. Usually had a single room, and he doubled me and Bobby up a lot of times, so Bobby and I are in this room together. And it's two single beds like this, and it's warm. We're sleeping in our shorts, just have a sheet pulled up to our waist. And we're out celebrating a little that night. It's the middle of summer, a lot of tourists up there, a lot of girls. And so we're out late dancing and singing, drinking, all that. So we're laying in bed there about 5:30 in the morning talking. Now Kent McRae'd get up. He knew the boys were having a big night that night. He wanted to make sure everybody was up and awake and ready to go to work. And so Bobby and I are laying there, and we're talking. And I look over at the window, and I see Kent walk by. and I think, oh, he's coming to see if we're awake. So I jumped out of my bed and I jumped in with Bobby. And we're laying there side by side, shoulder to shoulder. Sheet pulled up to our waist. And we're waiting for Kent to come in, and when he comes in, we're going to have a big laugh. You know, yeah, we fooled you. And we laid there. We laid there a little longer. And old Kent doesn't show up. And now it's getting a little awkward. I mean, we're good pals, but it only goes so far. And we're laying there, and all of a sudden he turns to me, and he says, it's your move, pal. Wow. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, you wanted to end up this evening with a poem that you said is one of your favorites.
Oh, that's right. Okay, well, you make sure you keep track of it. I like this poem. John Wayne delivered this at the Republican National Convention. I forget what year it was, but it's a good poem written by John Mitchum, Robert Mitchum's brother. And it goes like this. It goes, "White old lover, give me time and I'll explain. Have you seen a Kansas sunset or an Arizona rain? Have you floated on a bayou down Louisiana way? Have you seen that cold fog drifting over San Francisco Bay? Have you heard of Bob White calling from the Carolina pines, or the bellow of a diesel in those Appalachian mines? Have you heard the cry of Niagara? Have you heard her waters roar? Do you look with awe and wonder at her Massachusetts shore, where brave men finally stepped on Plymouth Rock? Do you think of them when you stroll down a New York City dock? Have you seen a snowflake drifting in the Rockies way up high? Have you seen that old sun come blazing down from a bright Nevada sky? Have you seen the mighty Tetons? Have you seen an eagle soar? Have you seen the Mississippi roll along Missouri shore? Do you feel a chill in Michigan when on a summer's day those waters rage along the shore in a thunderous display? Does the word aloha make you warm? Do you stare in disbelief as that old surf comes crashing in at Waimea Reef? Well, you know, from Alaska to the Everglades, from the Rio Grande to Maine, my heart cries out, my pulse runs fast at the might of her domain. You ask me why I love her? There's a million reasons why. My beautiful America beneath God's wide, wide sky. And that's it. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks. All right. That's it. Well, thanks, folks. Thank you. Thanks. That was fun. Enjoyed that.